So in my stock, my vegetable stock, I have a few things and I do it a little bit differently. Most people just do your standard onions, celery, garlic, throw it in a pot. Oh, and maybe some carrots, throw it in a pot and be done with it. But I like my vegetable stock to be a little bit more robust and have a little bit more flavor. Because vegetable stocks can be quite plain and bland. So I like to give it a punch of flavor. So this is my version of vegetable stock. You can put this in containers and freeze it. I will be canning mine, but if you don't pressure can, you can just freeze the stock for later. You can put it in ice cube trays. You can add it to recipes and that sort of thing. It's quite flexible because a vegetable stock can go with either beef dishes or vegetable dishes, fish dishes, and all sorts of things. It's extremely versatile. So I do make beef stock, I do make chicken stock, but I do have vegetable stock on hand because of the versatility of it. Sometimes I'll mix like a little bit of veggie stock and beef stock together. It's quite versatile. So I'm going to show you what we're doing. So I'm going to cut up all my vegetables, then I'm going to give them a wash, and then we'll put them in the water and then we'll go from there. So the first item I'm putting in that you probably wouldn't suspect is a pepper, a whole pepper. Now you can use a green pepper. I'm just cutting them into large chunks because they're just going in the pot. A green pepper, a red pepper. I have this one from my fridge. I'm just taking out the veins because they can be a little bitter. I like to make a veggie stock when, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little soft. It's not 100% crunchy, but it's going to be boiled down anyway. So I like to make my vegetable stock when I have not so perfect veggies in the fridge. So I'll stick a pepper in there. I'm going to put carrot. I don't bother peeling it. It's going to be washed. I'm just going to cut it in bigger chunks so that way there's more surface area. I don't use the tops and I don't use the bottoms. So I cut it into pieces so it has more surface area to extract the flavor. So I'm putting 3 large carrots in there. I did 1 bell pepper. Now you'll see like the vegetables that I'm going to put in the most are your base flavor. So that is your carrots, your onion, your garlic, and your celery. That's the base flavor. But then we add additional items to give a background note. So I'm just cutting up these carrots. Okay, so I'm gonna chop up this onion. I got this giant onion. If you don't have an onion this big, just put in a couple, I hope this is still good. Yeah, just the center isn't, so I'll just pull out the center, but a couple of small onions are fine. We don't want to waste food with this economy, so that's why I like to make veggie stock with the not so perfect things that I have. There, see, perfectly fine. Again, smaller bits just to be able to create more of a surface area. wash these after all together. What I'll do when I wash my vegetables is I'll just sprinkle a little bit of vinegar on it and water, and I just kind of swash it around. All right. So since the carrot and onion are a base flavor, there's going to be more of that ingredient in there. And these extra scraps are not going to waste. I have a composter that I use for my garden. So I have a loamy, so I just toss everything in there. I need to get a bowl. All right. All right, so we have the bowl. I'm going to put all these scraps in here because they are going to go into my composter to make beautiful garden soil for my next year's garden. My loamy has been fantastic, by the way. Not sure if you've heard of it, but I have my loamy in the garage with a 5-gallon bucket, and my 5-gallon bucket's almost full. Okay. Less than perfect celery. Celery is like one item that kind of goes to waste in my fridge. We don't use a lot of it. So I'm just going to put this whole thing in there. I have a huge stock pot, like a huge stock pot. We're making quarts and quarts of vegetable stock. There's no amount, just put in your veggies. It's just, use what you have. It'll taste fine. My next secret ingredient, so we had my pepper. My next secret ingredient is turnips. So I have 2 turnips that I'm going to throw in there. Again, that's going to give, the turnip I am going to peel. Throw that in there. So the turnip I am going to peel. But again, it is an accent flavor. To the soup. If you buy frozen soup veggies in your grocery store, you will notice that turnip is one of the ingredients most of the time. Well, in the brand that I used to buy anyway. But I would have to buy bags of it to fill a giant stock pot, so I stopped doing that. It's cheaper to just buy the individual ingredients. You can use them for other things, and the leftovers or things that you don't really have used up can make a stock. Okay, so I've got my turnips here. And I'll just chop these up again for more surface area to extract flavor. The more surface area, the more flavor will be pulled out of these veggies. Now my last secret ingredient, so I have 3 secret ingredients that I put in my veggie stocks aside from my herbs, which I'll show you. My 3rd secret ingredient that I put in my veggie stock to give it that flavor, and it is mushroom. Now these mushrooms were on clearance. I just got them on the clearance shelf at the grocery store. These are portobellos. Use whatever mushrooms that you have. Oysters, shiitake, whatever you got. Even dried mushrooms are fine. So these were on clearance for $1.49. So, I just stabbed this mushroom. And the reason why I put mushroom in it is, now the reason why I put mushroom in there is for unami. Unami is a soy sauce, mushroom, and I think anchovy. I believe anchovy. That's what's in Worcestershire sauce, however you pronounce it, gives you that umami flavor. And the reason why I use this, and I dry mushrooms as well, is if you ever cooked something and you're like, I don't know, but there's something missing. You're tasting it and you're like, there's something missing from this. That normally is the unami that you're missing. And meat, like beef and chicken, has that unami in there. So because we're just using all vegetables, I don't want to put soy sauce in this, and I don't want to put Worcestershire sauce in this. We're going to use mushroom, and mushroom is safe for preserving, so we're using mushroom. I'm just scraping the gills as much as I can out of it, only for the sole reason that, again, these will get washed, only for the sole reason, keep this down, that the gills will impart a darker color to the stock, which I don't mind, but I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm just using, if you've got button mushrooms or shiitake mushrooms, just throw a handful. It doesn't take a lot. I'm just using these two because it came in a pack of 2 on the clearance, the reduced section of the grocery store. It's a higher end grocery store, or one of the higher end chains of grocery stores, not a budget grocery store. So when the vegetables are less than perfect, they reduce them. And this looks absolutely fine to me. Like, I would have bought this at full price. Like, this is, it to me, it's not reduced, but they reduce it nonetheless. And even bonus, it is organic. So that's a bonus. For $1.49 for 2 portobello mushrooms, that's excellent. In Canada anyway, because inflation has gone bananas for groceries. So now I'm going to take these and I'm going to get them all washed. All right, so I have washed the vegetables, and I have my water on the stove here. I'm just going to put all my veggies inside. I know you're not supposed to wash mushrooms, but they're going to be boiled, so they're going to be in water anyway. I'm going to put all my veggies in here without splashing myself. Try to do this. All right, so all my veggies are in here. Now I'm gonna put some pickling salt. If you're freezing this, go ahead and use regular salt or whatever, but I'm gonna be canning this, so I'm gonna use pickling salt. You don't have to salt this. Actually, I don't salt it to the point of being able to use as is, because I normally use this in recipes. So I add this to things. If I make a butternut squash soup, I will be adding this to that. So I don't want it salted to the point where you'd be eating it, because now your overall dish is going to be too salty. So I just put a little bit in it, just because of chemistry. It will help to draw out the liquids from and the flavor from the vegetables. So I'm just putting that, just a little bit in there just to help the flavoring move along. I do put a few peppercorns, maybe about 10 peppercorns in there. Again, it's not a forefront flavor, but it's a back end flavor. And I am going to put some herbs in here as well, but I will do it towards the last half of the cooking because I do have fresh herbs and a couple of dried ones. So I will do that in the last half of the cooking process. So I am going to cook this for an hour and a half. It's going to cook for an hour and a half. 2 hours is fine as well. It is just to pull out as much flavor from the vegetables as possible. It's not like you're making chicken broth or beef broth that you have to cook it long enough to extract flavor from the bones and to cook the meat. This is vegetables, so I'm just cooking it for about an hour and a half. Usually when I do broth, like meat broths, I will cook them for extended, especially bone broths, I will cook for an extended long time, usually for several hours. So I can do that in another video, but this is my vegetable stock. So this is just gonna be as is for I would say 60 minutes. In the last half hour I'll add the extra herbs and we'll be back. So you're gonna bring your pot to a boil, and then I'm gonna turn it down to a medium high, or you can even turn it down to a simmer. But I'm gonna do medium high because I want it at a more aggressive simmer, and I will let this cook for the rest of the hour after it's brought to a boil. So once it comes to a boil, that's when I'll start timing the hour, and I'll cook it on medium high for the hour. So hi friends, we're outside, being stock. I'm gonna grab some herbs for the broth. If you don't have fresh herbs, that's all right. You can use dried herbs. I like to use thyme, rosemary, parsley, bay leaf, and basil. I'm gonna use dried bay leaf because I don't have it. And parsley is in the garden, and so is the basil, so I'll go grab that. But you can use dry. If you don't have all those individual things, just use a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. So just, that's it. I'm Italian, so I'm gonna do my veggie broth more Mediterranean style. So I'm just gonna grab some fresh herbs. So this is some thyme. I'm just gonna take about that much, a small bouquet. It's a big stock pot. If it was a smaller pot, I'd probably only use 1 or 2 sprigs. So that. Some rosemary. Rosemary is very potent, so only use a small amount of it. I'm actually only going to use like 1 sprig of rosemary because it's quite strong. So now we're going to go grab some basil and some parsley. Okay, so I literally just got a handful of fresh basil. The rest of it went in there. Like I said, the season is ending, so everything's not at its prime, but there were some good leaves that were on there, so I'm just gonna put this handful of basil in. As for the parsley, I put the whole thing in, stem, leaves, and all. We got our small bunch of basil and 1 sprig of rosemary. And I'm also gonna put 2 bay leaves in the pot. That is in my spice cupboard. So you use the spices that you like the most. I am from Italian descent, so my palate is more adjusted to Mediterranean flavors. So you do what flavors you enjoy. If you don't have fresh herbs, go ahead and just use dried parsley, dried basil, or even Italian seasoning. If you have Italian seasoning, it basically incorporates all of these. So you can just put a spoonful of Italian seasoning in your broth. All right, one more thing I forgot to add is tomato. So I do add a couple tomatoes. I could use a knife, but I'm not going to. I just kind of split them in half. Again, that whole surface area thing. I got this yellow one. So that's what I got. Just breaking it in half and putting it in there. All right, not remembering, so pepper, turnip, mushroom, tomato. Those are my 4 secret ingredients, along with the Mediterranean herbs. I don't know if you want to call that 5, because I don't know what everybody else puts in theirs, but that's what I got. All right, so this is my lomi. We call it the beast. And every time we feed her, we feed the beast. So that is my last batch in there. So you can run up to 3 batches before you dump it out. And then I have a 5-gallon bucket that I keep topping up. So I'm gonna put our veggie scraps in there, and they are going to compost. Now I'm going to turn this off for a second because I can't do this with one hand, and I'll be back. All right, all the veggie scraps are in. I'm gonna put on my lid. It's hard to do with one hand. And close the lid. And I'm gonna turn on the beast, and then off she goes. So you can hear her humming here, and then eventually she'll start like turning and grinding and breaking all this stuff down. And there's also tablets you can use. So I usually do that on the 3rd run. So the tablet is like, I think it's like a enzyme or bacteria or something. So it inoculates the compost with good bacteria for the soil. So it makes really good compost. I'm not sure if you cared to know that information, but I just wanted to kind of show you, because I did mention that all the scraps were going into the to the lomi. And for those of you who don't know about it, that's my lomi. I used to have a compost bin outside, but my backyard is not the greatest, and when the wind would blow, the smell was, oh my goodness, it was like the most disgusting smell, and it would just waft through the backyards and the neighbors and stuff. So for my 50th birthday, my family bought me the lomi, because they know how much I've always wanted one, but I couldn't. It is quite pricey, but since it was a gift with a bunch of people pitched in, it was a lot more affordable. So I'm glad to have that, and I'm very grateful. All right, so here we are. It's about an hour later, and now we're going to put the herbs in. So we're going to put these herbs in. Don't mind my messy kitchen. This is a real house. It's a real kitchen. I'm not going to fake pretend and make it pristine for you just for looks. I think social media has gone way too far in fakeness, and social media is meant to share, and there's a lot of fake stuff out there, and I want to show you that I'm not one of those people. You see what you get. I'm gonna be genuine with you. I'm here to make genuine friends and here, so I'm not gonna begin by being a fake person. So we're gonna put the herbs into the pot again, whole thing, stem and all. Let me get some of this basil in here. It's all gonna go in there. every little piece. There we go. So now this is gonna cook for another 30 minutes and we'll be back. 2 bay leaves going in. All right, so our soup is finished. I am just straining it out. Oops. And I'm gonna pour it into these jars because I will be canning it, but you can freeze this. You can put it in a container in your fridge for a few days. I made this because I need it for Thanksgiving. For a recipe, I'm making butternut squash soup and I need broth and I want to whole make it, and the rest I'm gonna can to save for later. So there we go. And then I'm just gonna pour it into my jars. Again, you can find how to can this, so I'm not going to show you how to can this. I'm just basically showing you how I make my broth. So one thing I forgot, well, I didn't forget, I did put 2 cloves of garlic in this when it was cooking. I thought I filmed it, but I didn't by accident, so I did put 2 cloves of garlic. Hi friends, so this is the finished product of the broth. It's a beautiful broth, excellent to use in all kinds of recipes this winter. So this is the final product.